What's happening, guys? Welcome to my first Elden Ring Nightreign video guide. This one I've been thinking about for a while. I wasn't sure what I wanted to make my first video about, but I landed on Relics. And this is not going to be an in-depth guide into Relics. Like, I'm not going to go over the stats too much or try to give you my opinion as to what the best ones are, because most of them is just going to be subjective. It's going to be entirely up to you to decide which stats fit your playstyle. And, somebody can come up with a meta and say that's the best way to play. But at the end of the day, you want to play with something that makes the game fun for you to play, personally. So there's stuff that's objectively just good, like HP. More HP is always good, more stamina, because everybody can benefit from that. But beyond that, it's, like I said, completely up to you. And so I will give you my recommendations for the stuff that I've observed to be good, like solid, and then the stuff that I didn't find as useful personally, right? But I'm not trying to diss anything. I'm not trying to say that it's worthless. It just personally does not feel as significant to me. And so this one, basically what I wanted it to be is a guide into how to manage your inventory, because at some point you're going to reach, I think it's 999 relics, and you're not going to be able to queue up for a match unless you delete or sell some relics. So before you get that, I've been pretty good about keeping my inventory free from clutter from the beginning by selling stuff almost immediately. Like, every time I come back from a match, I usually sell whatever I don't find useful. And yeah, let's go take a quick look. So my criteria is basically, I want for two relics to be really strong. Two stats to be really strong. And then the third one can be okay or just passable. The third one I just kind of see as the cherry on top. It's good if it's good, but it doesn't have to be, for me, it just has to be two really strong stats. And the third one can be hopefully OP, but if not, it can be okay, or it can be just useful. So so these ones I usually come through all of them, just because as I get more stuff that's better, it'll have stats that I used to have another relic for, but it gives me like an improved version of that. So I'll go back to see, okay, this is something that I was keeping because it was the best I had at the time, but now I have something better with the same stats, maybe like improved values, or it has a better combination of stats, right? So that's basically my criteria. And for me, like I said, I usually keep stuff that has vigor +3, because that's the maximum value, or stamina +3. And everything else, like mind also +3 is okay if I'm going with the a casting or whatever, if I know that I'm going to be using Ashes of War or whatever. But the stuff that I've seen that's really significant, like impactful to me, is stuff like, as far as specific stats. So this one, right? The top one, defeating enemies fills more of the art gauge. I think this one takes, depending on the ult, but the Guardian, right? The Guardians, I think, is one of the ones that take the longest to charge. This one, I think it's 9 or maybe 10 enemies that you have to kill to replenish or to charge up your ult to use it, right? And this one, I found a spreadsheet online that said that it stacks, so you could have this on multiple relics and it would stack. It does not stack. I actually tested it because I thought it would be too OP if it did stack, because basically you'd be having your ult all the time, because it doesn't just count your kills, it counts the team's kills. So you could get your ult charged up. You can have your ult all the time just with the single one, let alone if you have 2 or 3. So it kind of break the game if it did stack. So I just wanted to clarify that. That one is one of the more impactful ones that I've seen. Also stuff that, ultimate art gauge +3 or skill cooldown reduction +3 is going to be really good. But as far as other properties like vigor +3 or poise +2 is really good. But stuff like this, like Arcane +2, and this is actually a perfect example. Arcane +2 is just going to give you literally 1 or 2 damage points. So let's say that your starting armament does, I don't know, 60 damage. It'll if it has, scaling with Arcane, let's say bleed, it'll literally give you like 2 points. So it'll take it from 60 to 61 or 62, right? And then if you have something that's like physical attack up, that is going to give you a lot more points per level. And then Arcane can go up to +3, but physical attack up can only go up to +2. So this is the max. That's the reason I'm keeping this. Not for the Arcane, but because mine +2 and physical attack up +2 are good enough for me to keep, right? And so that is, like I said, comparable to any of the damage stats like dexterity, strength, faith, intelligence. All of those are not going to give you as much in returns for keeping them, right? So it'll give you like 1 or 2 damage points depending on what the level is, as opposed to these physical attack up or the power ups. So like this, holy attack power up +1 is going to give you a lot more points than strength +1, right? So definitely keep an eye out for anything that's an affinity based power up. So lightning, holy, magic, fire, those you want to keep around. And then the rest of the stuff that's giving you like dexterity, strength, faith, or intelligence, keep them if you don't have anything better. But in the beginning, you're going to be keeping a lot of stuff. And then as you get more relics, you want to get rid of the stuff that you were keeping because it was the best you had at the time, right? And so this improved initial standard attack does stack with others, so that's pretty good. And then everything else, like I said, it's entirely up to you. Like there's stuff that will benefit your play style, obviously. And then knowledge of the Ashes of War also can determine, whether or not you want to keep something around, because some Ashes of War that are in this game are not as good. But if they work for you, you might want to, keep them around for that. But then, for example, this one, partial HP restoration upon post-damage attacks, or what people call the Bloodborne Relic, because it gives you access to the rally system. So this one is actually really good for melee characters. So Executor, Raider, Wilder, they're all going to make good use of this. But if you're casting mostly with Revenant, which she could also be a really good melee character. But if you're mostly casting with her or with Recluse, it's not going to, because you're not doing damage fast enough. You have to be really like up in their face because you only have a few seconds to get some of that HP back. And because casting is a little bit slower and range and everything else, it's not going to be as useful for ranged characters. But it's really useful for your melee classes. So this is something that like defeating enemies charges your ult. Those two are really strong, and I would highly recommend recommend you to keep them around. And let's see what else. Yeah, the cooldown reduction is really good as well. Basically, in the beginning, you're gonna see, like, for example, I don't have anything that's a white relic. They're white, blue, and purple. The whites only have 1 stat, the blue have 2 stats, and the purple have 3. I don't even have anything that's white because I already have, a good enough selection of relics that there's nothing there's nothing that's so good that I would keep a relic that only has 1 stat for, because odds are that I already have that with something else, and that's immediately better for me to keep, right? So that's basically the advice that I had for what to keep, what to sell. And, hopefully you won't have to hit that max where you have to actually, it'd be really annoying for you to be ready to queue up for a match and then you have to delete relics before you can do that. And then kind of deciding, on the spot might not be the best. You might get rid of stuff that you actually want to keep. So just try to do this when you're not really playing with anybody, friends or whatever. Just take some time to go through your inventory and come through and then realize that, okay, this is actually something that I have something better for. And yeah, I mean, one last thing that I'll say is about the gambling. So obviously you get all these chalices that you can spend your merc on when you're selling those relics, and then you're gonna buy these better ones that you can buy for each class, and then you can do the gambling thing, right? And so this one you can spend 600 merc for one, and this could be a white, a blue, or a purple, or you can do 6,000 for 10. This, in my opinion, is actually better. I've gotten better relics from this shop than from the new shop that you unlock by killing any of the enhanced bosses, right? So this one also gives you the opportunity to gamble with that currency, but this is just more rare. Like, just compare the amount of merc that I have versus the amount of sovereign sigils, right? I mean, you can't really, it's not really fair because the enhanced have only been out for a few weeks, whereas the game has been out for like a month and a half, right? But close to 2 months now. But this one is just more rare. Not a lot of people are going to be having tons of this currency. And the difference is that this one gives you purples every time. It doesn't give you whites or blues. But in my experience, just from what I've gambled, it's not like, yes, it'll give you a purple, but it's not immediately going to give you the OP, god rolls that you're probably expecting from this, because it's such a rare currency, and it's actually 5 is so expensive. You get 5 for a match, right? So that's 5, unless it's your first time beating the boss, in which case you get 25. But every subsequent time you're going to get 5, and that's like a 40 to 50 minute commitment that you're getting for your 5. And then for you to get a relic that's not like guaranteed god roll, it's too steep of a price for me. So I would not recommend anybody to gamble using this. Instead, just go to the first shop and gamble with that if you have any merc. And you can always save scum, just load up. What I would do is just do the old upload download. So upload before I use my currency, and then if I don't get what I want, I download, and my currency is reset to what it was before I spent it. All right, so that's what I would recommend you to do. But yeah, that was it. That's the end of the video. I'm probably gonna make another one that's gonna be more like impressions of the full game now that I've been playing it for about a month and a half, and / review / appreciation video, because I really think that this might be my game of the year, at least so far. We'll see how Ghost of Yote changes that, but there's not really anything else that I'm expecting to like as much as I like this game. So we'll see. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.